I believe that art can change lives. I believe that a powerful painting, a song, a drama, a film can so touch our souls that it causes a paradigm shift. I've been involved in art and storytelling most of my professional life, and I'm here to share with you my story about how art moved me from vision to reality. I was born in southeast Nigeria in a little village called Emekuku, little mission hospital. My mother was a young Swiss woman who had met my father right here in England in the mid-1950s when they were both students. My father was an idealistic student of architecture. My mother was studying English. They met, fell in love, and decided to embark on an adventure. So my mother came to Nigeria in 1960, right at the beginning of independence during the heady days of post-colonialism. And I grew up in a household that was filled with creativity. Besides building buildings and designing, spaces, my father was very inventive. And he was always trying to figure out how to create things out of our environment. Now, during the Biafran War, we were refugees in Switzerland. And when we came back to Nigeria, he built our furniture from the packing crates that we had used to ship our things back from Switzerland to Nigeria. My mother, on the other hand, was an airline professional, but her true passion was trying to combine the best of African art with the European sensibility and with European design. And so she used to entertain a lot and create very amazing dishes such as cold cucumber soup served in frozen coconuts. I never really quite knew what my creative journey would be, because my brother always knew he wanted to design planes and fly planes, but when it came to me, I kind of meandered through life trying to find my creative voice. And I think that's the first principle that I want to share, especially with the young people in the audience today, is be yourself and experiment while you try to find your own creative voice. And it's amazing to see when you look back at your life that all the little experiences that you've had have prepared you for your journey, have prepared you and given you the experience and the tools and the confidence to be able to make a difference. So I started off by wanting to be an actress. And I went to drama school, and, well, that was great, but maybe that's not what I should have been doing. So I decided I would go into education. And while I was studying education, I spent time volunteering at an art gallery. At this time, I was in Canada, at the Winnipeg Art Gallery, and I had so much fun combining art and actually teaching and reaching out, communicating with young people. From education, I moved to educational television. And my first job when I graduated was working in online broadcast media. I was an online editor and technical director. We had the time of our lives. It was very cool. There was always a buzz in the newsroom. I was at this time working in Switzerland, but the company that I was working for went bankrupt. And so I started looking for another job. And at that time, the Worldwide Fund for Nature, environmental organization, was looking for someone to tell stories about Africa. And so for 8 years, I traveled the width and breadth of sub-Saharan Africa, learning about environment and development, and learning how to speak to a global audience about grassroots stories. In 1992, I met my husband, the love of my life, And I decided it was time to come home. And so I came back to Nigeria in '94. And that is when my helicopter landed. That is when I actually realized that my African education, the theoretical part of it, was over. And it was time to get in the trenches. It was time to move from vision to reality. It was time to use the skills that I had acquired along the way to try to make a concrete difference to local lives. And so we came up with this idea that we would start an NGO, and we called it Communicating for Change. It was very broad and very visionary, communicating for change. And that is what we wanted to do. We wanted to communicate to push the development envelope. So my first major campaign was born out of a story that I heard about a drama group, performance studio workshop, and they were pushing a big project trying to address female genital mutilation. Now at that time, almost 50% of Nigerian women were cut. And infibulation was happening in the north, clitoridectomy was happening in the southern part of Nigeria. It was a big problem. And so they started doing research. And during their research, they were trying to find out why is it that people are performing this practice. And during that research phase, they met Stella. Now, Stella was a very, very important person in her community. Stella was from the royal family of Benin in Edo State. Stella was from the royal lineage of circumcisers. Her great-grandmother was a circumciser, her grandmother. And she was taught how to circumcise boys and girls from the age of 10. And so they met with Stella and they asked her, why do you do this? And she was adamant. First of all, she said, it's very, very important. It's a very good thing. Women will be promiscuous if they're not caught. It's a sign of slavery. And I will never stop doing circumcisions. The dramatists became friends with her. And after a few months, Stella's personality and story inspired them to write a play called Wheatbaker. And it was created out of the inspiration of Stella herself. For the command performance, they invited Stella to come and see the play. She sat in the audience, and a miracle happened. For the first time, Stella was not performing the circumcision. She was an onlooker. For the first time, she tried to explain she was not the surgeon who was performing the surgery. She said, as a surgeon, you have no feeling for your patient because you are focusing on your job. And for the first time, she was taken out of this surgeon role and saw the enactment of a circumcision. And it so horrified her that she decided she would never perform another circumcision on a woman. And so you can see how art can transform a life. Stella now joined the campaign, and with very powerful and very brave human rights activists, health practitioners, health advocates, she joined the campaign, and after a lot of pressure, they succeeded. And in 1999, the first law against female genital mutilation was passed in Edo State. I heard about this incredible story, and I decided that this was what I needed to do as a filmmaker. I needed to create a film on this. And so I produced and directed a documentary that was called Uncut, Playing with Life. And it traced this incredible story. And we took this film to all the broadcast stations. We created educational materials. We worked with the broadcasters to try to help them to understand the importance of telling this story. And it was a hot topic. And the broadcasters broadcast that film and brought the human rights activists, the grassroots advocates into the studios to answer questions. The radio stations were all abuzz. What we had done is we had brought this story to the front burner of the national news, and it was very, very powerful. During film screenings in the community, people really spoke out. But the most incredible thing was that when we did audience research, almost 90% of the audience, after seeing the screenings and listening to the discussions, felt that female genital mutilation was a harmful traditional practice that had to be stopped. This year, Nigeria has passed a law banning female genital mutilation across the country. It has been a long journey with many, many actors along the way, with many dedicated human rights, people who went and despite all the odds. But what is amazing to see is that the root, the beginning of this social pressure and revolution was through art. But we decided we had to do more. At that time, Nollywood was just coming up. I mean, everybody was talking about Nollywood. And we realized that we had to be a little bit more popular. We had to try to tap into the Nollywood genre, to try to entertain and educate at the same time. And so we started collaborating with famous Nollywood directors like Tunde Kelani, like Teko Benson. And we started making films on a lot of different topics: democracy and good governance, maternal health, HIV and AIDS, democracy. We talked about community development. And we also realized that we had to teach the audience how to tell their own stories. And so we started organizing workshops, trying to teach young people how to tell stories about their lives. I will never forget the day I met the Minister of Information. We were at a meeting, being introduced to each other. He never met me. He said, "Oh, what do you do?" I told him. He said, "Do you have any film you can show me? You people communicating for what?" Without thinking, I said, yes, I have a very interesting film to show you. It was produced by some young people. We've just finished training them. We did a 3-week course with them. And what we did was we put an advert in the paper and we asked young people in Nigeria, send us your ideas about democracy and good governance. And this is what they produced. Take a look.
Yes, I'm saying that with your 15 change over in this CMS. Going about in this CMS. Yes, madam, you're welcome. Enter with your change, I no get change. This one where you check what pocket so. You just say money inside that pocket. Enter with your 15 change. If you don't get money, then no enter. Yes, over in this CMS going, over in this CMS. Enter with your change, over in this CMS going. Over in there going.
My friend, where is your driver?
Try to get me. Try to get me.
My friend, get this bus moving.
My chance. Going.
Now you be driver.
No, lie. It's not possible now. How can this man be the driver?
How can someone in this position drive?
Will you people let the man drive? We have places to go.
This one no go kill persons.
I wonder.
I beg, people not abuse my driver. My again a correct driver. In fact, he done the drive from in Mama Bele. As they say, I'm so. If he drive on top water, where everybody could just,
How this kind of person go be our driver?
I remember with the time we are young. Nobody for allow this kind of man they drive. They for don't shout for them well and change the driver come out and find better one to drive them. Therefore, even they for non season license.
But Papa, this is no good then as you are saying it now. Yeah, people there for that your time too. Make we forget what don't happen. Make we find a way to make our tomorrow better. And that will make me face.
Hey, why we not fit change this driver now?
Well, as you can imagine, the minister was furious. This film ended up winning a number of awards. The young lady who sent the story idea in actually pursued a professional career in production, and she was just recently production coordinator for the film Half of a Yellow Sun on Adichie's book. Communicating for Change was growing, and it was amazing. We were now producing radio programs, we were doing television dramas, documentaries, we were organizing training for broadcasters, we were even working with NGOs trying to teach them how to use research-based materials. And our creative team was vibrant and growing. But personally, I had hit a plateau. I had spent 14 years in the media trenches, and I was tired. And you know, when you become successful and your business grows, you become more involved in management and you become more focused on fundraising and less on the creative, flame that started you. And after a number of failed succession attempts, it was just that I couldn't go on. And so I decided that I needed to take a break. And that was hard because in a way I felt I had maybe failed. And my film friends felt that I had abandoned the film industry. But even though the broadcasters kept insisting that they get this kind of content, because nobody was doing these kinds of films, I felt that we also needed to regroup. And so I took a step back. And it was a time of reflection. It was a time of really trying to find out what I needed to do next. And during this time, I got a lot of strength and hope from my family, my friends, my husband, and also from God, because it says that they that wait upon the Lord will renew their strength. And so after some time, a friend of mine called me, a very, very close friend, and she said, "Sandy, I'm building a boutique hotel. Would you be prepared to buy some art for the hotel?" And my husband and I had been collecting art. And so we had quite a lot of contacts with artists. And I said, yes, let me see what it's all about. And so I went to the building site, which was where the hotel was being built, and I got very, very excited. And I said, wow, we can really do a lot here. Yes, I can buy art for the hotel and make it look very beautiful. But what if we try to take art out of traditional spaces like galleries and museums and actually bring it right into the mainstream of Nigerian life? What if we created the hotel as a platform for celebrating the best of Nigerian creativity? And that is what we did. So for the last 3-4 years, we have had professionally curated exhibitions. We've provided opportunities for dance, for drama, for spoken word. We have given artists the chance to present their work for 6 to 8 weeks. Lagosians who normally don't go to gallery spaces were all of a sudden being confronted by these incredible exhibitions, installations. And at one point, I had just put up this installation of newspaper that were sort of floating in the foyer as you come into the hotel. And I had just put it up on fish wire. It was beautiful. And the guest walks into the hotel, and he stares at this installation. He stares at it. He goes up to the label, and he rips it off the wall. I'm like, Oga, why did you do that? He said, who are you? Who are you? I said, Oga, sorry, I'm the curator. I just put up this installation. Why, sir? Why did you just come and remove that label? He said, I like it. I like it. I want to collect the business card. Our hotel cleaners have become aware that when there's newspaper and metal on the floor, it may be part of an installation and not trash. International visitors that fly into Lagos are now seeing some of the best of Nigerian creativity on a weekend while they're taking their, attending their meetings. And even international curators from the Tate, from Smithsonian have come and have seen our exhibitions. About a year later, I got an invitation to, this is some of the performances. About a year later, I got an invitation from a boutique who said to me, can you come and do art for us? Now, my friend said, come on, Sandy. It's enough now. Art and handbags, art and fashion. And I said, why not? Why not? Here we have a well-heeled, upwardly mobile Nigerian community spending a lot of money on haute couture. And we have a very strong and powerful art community. And those two worlds are not meeting. We need to connect them. And so we started doing exhibitions at a very exclusive boutique hotel. And during the first exhibition, a lady walks up to me and says, so for the price of an evening gown, I can now buy a painting? And I said, yes. And guess what? Your children will be very excited about getting a painting one day, but I don't think they'll be very interested in, taking over your wardrobe. A top Nigerian designer walked into the exhibition and saw this piece. It's a piece by Victor Hikameno. A year later, she created Ekimini. The exhibition, the collection is Ekimini by Itwen Bassi. In conclusion, I believe that art has the power to move us from vision to reality. We are so powerful in our creativity, and if you look at the rest of the world, Europe, Pablo Picasso, Modigliani, they were all inspired by African art. If you look at art today and how it has changed the way the world looks at Africa, our identity has changed. We're being seen as a hub for creativity. People are no longer only seeing us for traffic and corruption and all the other things that go along with life in Africa and in Nigeria. So in conclusion, I would like to say, learn to tap into the power of art and let it move you from your vision to reality. Thank you.